America, we got to get back to doing what's expected of us as free citizens in this democracy. That means being tolerant, being respectful, staying informed, and being engaged. I'm former Congressman Joe Walsh. Follow me here and join the millions of Americans who are renewing their social contract with each other. The social contract, it's on us. Cindy, Carol, come on in, everybody. We've got a great guest tonight. I'm going to try to pull her in. One of my favorite political people in this country, on the planet, Rachel Bittkoffer. Going to pull her in. Pound those red hearts this Wednesday night. Hi, Carol. Hi, Carolyn. Hi, Design Diva. We have a country to save, don't we? Mary from Newport, Kentucky, welcome. Margie from Chicago, welcome. Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a good week. I hope you are. I hope you're tired, but I hope it's a good tired. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're making some money this week. I hope you're saving some money this week. Patricia from Louisiana, welcome. I'm going to try to grab my guest. Don't move, anybody. Let's see if I can get Rachel in here. We've got a really nice live for you tonight. Patricia in Louisiana, hi. Oh, Christina, I'm a Republican with a Democratic heart, except I'm no longer a Republican. Became a Democrat 8 weeks ago. 8 weeks ago, I became a Democrat. Welcome. Yashira, welcome. Patricia, hi. Penelope, hi. Christina, hi. Hi, everybody. I'm just waiting on my guest. We'll get started here in a second. I promise you. Joseph Spencer in Arizona. Buddy boy, hi. Cheryl, hi. Julie, welcome to the dark side. What's the dark side? I'm a babe. I'm a Democrat now 8 weeks. 8 weeks. By the way, that reminds me. Randy Eisenberg, hello. Mary, hello. My Substack that we put out yesterday, last night, today, is an important one. Keeps doing this to me. There she is.
It worked that time, though, homie. Yay, dude.
Boom, boom, boom. Rachel, welcome. Hi, Ken Carver. Everybody listening to us right now, that beautiful mug. Oh, I'm getting static, Rachel.
Are you? I don't hear any static. That's so weird.
Hey, okay. Well, if you don't, that's fine.
Yeah.
Listeners, tell me if you hear static. Dogs are fine.
Let us know.
Dogs are fine.
He knows better.
Yeah, there's static. I'm going to try something here, Rachel. You don't move. Take those off.
This is my first Substack live, so,
Static. Yeah, damn, Rachel, there's static. I'm going to put these back on. I do hear static. Okay, now.
Any better?
You sound great.
Okay. You sound great to me, too.
Okay. How do I sound? Helene, Melissa, let me know, everybody, how we sound. We're going to jump right into it. This is Rachel Bittkoffer. She is one of my favorite political animals in this country. The author, political scientist, national political expert. Great book that Rachel put out last year called Hit 'em Where It Hurts: How to Save Democracy by Beating Republicans at Their Own Game. Rachel, by the way, is on Substack. You need to follow her. You need to subscribe to her. She's the editor of The Cycle. So subscribe to Rachel Bittkoffer at The Cycle and be engaged with her political acumen. Welcome.
I'm so excited to be here. You know, your audience has a special place in my heart. So it's great to be here today to talk about how important your cohort is going to be for us to survive this apocalyptical event.
What? Start at the very tippy top. We have a fucking fascist in the White House. My former political party no longer believes in democracy. But the Democrats, my new political party, have to fucking beat them. To start at the top, Rachel, what the hell do Democrats got to do to win? To win.
So the book lays out how to do something I called negative partisanship strategy. I invented this strategy from watching the Republican Party and how they win elections. Okay. And I was a political scientist. My background is political behavior. My dissertation was on polarization. I studied Joe right when he emerged, almost as patient zero at the Tea Party, as an academic, right? And so what I'm trying to get Democrats to understand is not like it's just that they need a new message, right? Their problem is that they have an entire system that's based on a couple of flawed assumptions. The first being that voters, especially swing voters, say in the swing states or the battlegrounds, are reasonably well informed, right? And then need to be argued on policy appeals and, sell a candidate on better biography and better policy. And that's not how swing voters behave, right? And you know that because you've met them, right? And because they don't behave, because they don't know anything, because they aren't reading any news, they aren't disturbed. So the pit that you and me and the audience here wake up with every day, I talk a lot about how we have to spread the pit. And I really mean that because there are many, many, many Americans that are decent people that would be just disgusted by what's happening, but they don't know, folks. They don't read and watch news. Their algorithms don't give them any political content because if it did, they log off because they hate politics, right? So they give them only cooking shows and fishing and whatever the hell they're into, celebrity shit. And so this idea that like the public doesn't react to the crisis we're facing, some of that is conditional on the fact that the public doesn't know we have a crisis, right? And the only way that they are going to ever know that is through paid advertising, through Democratic campaigns. We don't have the right-wing ecosystem. Democratic voters or even just swing voters aren't the kind of political animals. They're not homogenous. I mean, the Republican base is a homogenous thing. It's a right-wing, white, conservative, evangelically ridden party, right? The Democrats don't have that. Like when you look at media preferences among partisans, it's always like, all right wing, like 100%, and they don't watch anything else on the right. And then on the left, it's like 15 different outlets, right? There's no like one that dominates. And so Democrats, number one, have done electioneering like they have to have the best product, and it's a product nobody likes, right? So the Republicans figured out all we have to do is shit on the other product. There's only two products. If you're not selling a Toyota, okay, nobody likes politicians or party politics except for us, right? And so you're not selling something people want to buy, and it's easier then when a two binary choice environment is shit on the other product. Yeah,
because I so fucking love to listen to you. Stop for a minute. I've not heard you put it that way. To the average person listening to us right now, you got two choices. Republicans have learned to beat down the other choice. Democrats haven't learned that yet. Is that what you're saying?
Oh my God, no. And then when you look at the data in 24, but especially the final data when Harris took over, and what you find is, I mean, there's two things that can really piss you off, Joe. Okay, number one, in the battleground states, swing voters were left with 60% of them had fond memories of Donald Trump's first term. Okay, and do you want to know why? Because we're so goddamn smart. We lose so goddamn often, right? And that's because we convinced ourselves, oh, these Trump negatives are baked in. We can poll and focus. Look, no, they're not baked in. Most people are tuned out, and if all they remember about Trump is what he tells them to remember, which is that it was the best economy ever, and it wasn't the best economy ever. It was basically the same economy as Barack Obama's, right? But it don't that way.
Should
Yes.
the Harris campaign have spent most of their time just fucking reminding people,
Yes.
beating on Trump, reminding people who he
Yes.
is?
Yes, and I got like that was what I wanted to do, and the Obama bros took over and they ran on joy and opportunity. And you look at the data; the data don't lie, Joe. We don't have to sit here like all this autopsy shit that you guys are
Yeah.
loading in the media. Like in the party, we already know what happened. Okay, we understand it crystal clear. The data is very clear. We're looking at the ad impact data; it captures all the campaign advertising and all the outside group advertising. And we can see we don't have to guess what strategy did the campaign use. And the Harris campaign ran a positive campaign. The accompanying super PAC, that was the only thing that could be funded because they had to have control, spent I shit you not, a billion. I mean, I get sick when I think about it. $1 billion on positive ads, guys.
Uh,
Like, it hurts, right? Like, and the product of that was an electorate because they're already predisposed for change. And we can talk about the
yeah.
fundamentals, right?
Yeah.
They were already predisposed to, to want change in the election. And instead of discounting that change, we ran on selling a product again nobody wants to buy.
So understand, everybody, what Rachel's saying. You've got two parties, the Democrats, and this may, like the average person, Rachel, may not like to hear this,
Yes,
but like
they
the
don't.
average Democrat, like
Yep.
Democrats, you spent too much time talking about how your toothpaste is awesome
Yep.
instead of spending time talking about how fucking terrible and
Yes.
gross Trump's toothpaste is.
Yes. And that's what they do, right? So like
That's what
their
they do.
electoral strategy swims with the current. So they aren't trying to like just basically invalidate basic hardcore facts about human psychology,
Yeah.
right? People experience loss 1,000% more than gain. Okay. Like negative, obviously, and Democrats will be like, oh, well, swing voters don't like negative ads. No, of course they tell you that, but they still vote on them all the time. That's why the Republican Party does it, right? And this idea that somehow like going negative won't work for Democrats. Well, motherfuckers, it's the same swing voters, okay? Like we're not talking about special, distinct people. And liberals themselves aren't that special psychologically. We are subject to the same rules as basic human psychology, right? And we're swimming against the current, constantly against the current. And when in 22 in the book, I document how we lost in 22 running that old strategy. The new strategy is one message that drives strong turnout for your base and your independent leaders who will or not engage, and is also pushing swing voters away from the Republican Party's brand. You can't escape the party label, which is the second point I was going to make about the book, is that, people know nothing. In fact, only thing they do know is who the president is, and broadly speaking, what the two parties' brands are. And there's this thing on the ballot, the D and the R. Joe, you ran into a ballot with a D and a R after your redistricting, right? And at the end of the day, the only thing that mattered was that R next to your name, right? Yeah.
Rachel, is this kind of depressing in that
Yes.
most people don't pay attention and you've just got to put straight poop about the other team in front of them?
Yeah,
Constantly.
and in a fragmented media environment, you have to do it with paid advertising. The only people that have money on our side, because we don't have the infrastructure. If you want to learn more about the Republican infrastructure, definitely read the book. We don't have all that. And we do have some spenders, but they're wasting their money predominantly on research when they should be focused on message distribution, because if anybody who's anybody in this party or this movement, democracy movement, will tell you the only thing they ever receive in terms of communications from Democrats are fundraising emails.
Yeah.
You never see anything else, right? And that's not good, guys. Like we have to have the campaigns pounding the Republican brand. The Republicans have ruled the roost in Texas for 30 years. And what is their record to show for it? Go tell the voters, right? They don't know. Everyone knows they're mad about the economy, that they don't know why they're mad about the economy. They don't know who to be mad at. And in lieu of having a villain, they settled on us, right? So we need to make sure that we are spending the only money we have for message distribution, which are our swing race, big money races like that one in Florida, is,
Yeah.
70% of the budget needs to go to just hammering Florida Republicans if you want to win that race.
So, Rachel, what is it? And I've only been a Democrat for 8 weeks. What is it about Democrats that they're so fucking hesitant to fight and do what you're talking about?
I'm glad you asked. I have last week featured 2 articles on the cycle that were companion pieces. And the first was published
Yes.
and it was called Politicize Everything. And it, talks about how Republican elected leaders who have to drive the narrative, no matter how much we do in the grassroots, that's great. But if the electeds aren't pounding, it's not going to have noise, right? And so we need the electeds to be pounding disasters like this Texas disaster. If that had happened to us, if we had done that and didn't invest in a $75,000 siren, right? Like the Republicans, like remember Laken Riley? I mean, I know her name because of the Republican Party, right?
Yeah.
I know her because they used the State of the Union to allege that Joe Biden murdered her.
Yeah.
Come on, right? Like, Joe Biden directly, by the way, they don't make any nuance. I mean, he let the illegals in, the illegals killed him, he killed her. That's the kind of politicization that they're capable of. And on our side, in the companion piece, Herding Cats, that I published, I talk about how the Democrats, liberals are not wired for that, right? We're fact-based, data-based, rational argument. Nobody wants to look stupid. Like every time I post hyperbolic shit on Twitter, I have no doubt I get some liberals in my comments. Well, that's not how Social Security actually works, right? And I was like, yes, dude, I don't give a fuck. Okay, I'm willing to look dumb to make a better message, but most Democrats are not willing to look dumb. They don't want to talk in these hyperbolic, politicized ways. And so the thing that we have to change is, yes, there's structural shit that we have to invest in. And I'm proud that Ken Martin is leading with this book and building the war room and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, like the structure can be changed. But if we don't change behavior within us, willing to be mean, right?
Oh my
Like
God, Rachel, preach, preach,
Yeah.
preach, preach. By the way, if you're just tuning in, this is Rachel Bittkoffer, American political scientist. She wrote a great book that came out last year, Hit 'em Where It Hurts, How to Save Democracy by Beating Republicans at Their Own Game. Rachel, and by the way, follow and subscribe Rachel on Substack. At The Cycle, her newsletter, At The Cycle. It's great shit. She is the smartest and I think the best advocate in this country for what my new party needs to do to win. Rachel, you said something fascinating there, because when I was out campaigning for Kamala every day, I'd hear from a lot of voters who would say, yeah, Trump's a fucking asshole, Joe, but Democrats look down on me. They're elites, they're snobs, blah, blah, blah. Democrats give that air.
They
like
do.
They're not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I mean, this is a huge problem, right? Like, I mean, my God. And we're not going to connect with the working class using consultants and advisors who have never met an actual real person, right? I mean, I came from the school of hard knocks. Like, I know how the working class thinks, feels, acts, behaves, and they respond to incentives like anybody else, right? So, at the end of the day, they have been, all this time that we've been focused on these positive ads. I'm Val Dennings and I'm a sheriff and I ride a motorcycle. I'm Amy McGrath. I drive a fighter jet, or Sherrod Brown. I'm not one of those Democrats, which every time he does, he's affirming this false brand that you now know is false, because you wouldn't become a Democrat if we were a bunch of child grooming pedos who want to send illegals in to vote and whatever, right? Like, we are a party that has been branded as a party of extremists, but we are a party of moderates. And that's why you find a home here, and other people should also find a home here, right? But the Republican Party is a party of extremists. The extremists can control the committees. The
Yeah.
extremists run the RNC. Now the
Yeah.
extremists really run shit, right? Wherein the far left is very marginalized in terms of like institutional power. They don't have that kind of power, right? But we are defined around the weirdest motherfuckers on the internet because of their comms asymmetry. And we have to do the same thing. I mean, they are crazy, batshit crazy, right? And we just think that the swing voters magically know that because we know that, but they don't know that, obviously, right? And so this tendency and desire to sell ourselves overcomes and I'm sorry to say this is driven in big ways by the consultant class who managed to win often enough, Joe, because
Yeah.
fundamentals flip, right? So
Yeah.
these motherfuckers are going to win all kinds of shit now. But like what I want is a strategy that wins all the time and wins big, right? Like so like they get all these big clients and like I all I can say to those candidates is this: if your consultant is telling you to stick positive and do positive shit, you should fire them immediately.
Rachel, and again, I think that's such a cogent message. And if there's anybody listening right now who's a good Democrat, my fellow Democrat, and you're offended by what Rachel's saying, you need to understand something. There's nobody on the planet who wants Democrats to win more than Rachel. This is advice she's giving Democrats on how we need to fucking win. And look, Rachel, I've always been, I was a political asshole. I've always been a fighter. And that's, as I'm now a Democrat, I'm trying to help Democrats
Yes, you're
fight.
my asshole now, Joe.
I'm your asshole. I'm Rachel's asshole. But when you talk about fighting, because I do a lot of it, you do a lot of it. Specifically, when you talk about Democrats need to fight, what do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean you should fact check them or correct the record because that shit doesn't matter and doesn't work. In fact, because of there's all kinds of cognitive biases that are so important to understand in terms of analyzing political behavior. And
Yeah.
one of them is cognitive dissonance, the inability to accept information that will conflict with the worldview. So many people will filter out those fact checks. So nothing high minded like that. When I say we got to fight, what I mean is we have to go on offense. So if they want to come after us on something, we come after them for dead kids at Newtown, right? I mean, those motherfuckers have killed more people with their radical gun shit, right? And we've never once said it, right? So, like, one of the most important parts of the book is teaching Democrats the Republicans want the topic to be about something that advantages them.
Yeah.
And puts us into a defensive posture. They do it every cycle, but the best and clearest example, and the one I use in the book, is CRT in Virginia in 2021, because it's just such a modern example of what they do. And what they did was they took an issue that it wasn't showing up in polls. Okay, like, we were like, oh, what's the most important thing? Oh, we're going to run on that. They were like, oh, here's this thing that, like, the CRT, I mean, whatever, right? But CRT, it doesn't have to be understood by the end user because the end user understands very clearly what CRT is. CRT is a proxy that says they want to make your kid feel bad about being white, okay?
Yeah.
And that's what the end user thinks. Whether they can define what CRT is or not, that's the message, right? And like, all of the House of Delegate campaigns ran on that, all of the statewide, right?
Wow.
And they created this conversation. So Democrats what do they do? Classic, they go on defense. McAuliffe campaign gives a speech about the importance of books and whatever, right? Meanwhile, the Republicans are running an ad. It's one woman, not a bunch of data, because nobody gives a shit about data. It's one woman, and she's wringing her hands face to camera about how her daughter was ruined by reading Toni Morrison. Right? That's the shit that, like, it's emotional, right? It's highly individualized. And so Republicans all ran on CRT. They made it the most important media conversation, and Democrats were happy to oblige, happy to go on panels and talk about how CRT doesn't do this or it's not taught here, blah, 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 right? Thousands of media hours to CRT in October in 2021, where I'm yelling, I'm like, no, don't do that. Go on counter offense. These guys are crazy as shit, man. Like, pull up something on Youngkin and just slam him, right? And so when I talk about the message, one of the most important things to do is to teach Democrats Like, if there's what is the one thing that your Republican opponent doesn't want to talk about? Okay, right now it's the Epstein file,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you pound the shit out of that one thing over and over and over because, again, full circle, okay? Most people don't know who their senators are. And
Right.
everyone on this conversation knows who their senators are,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But if you go out into the world, I mean, not if you live in New York, D.C., or L.A., okay? If you're a big city person, sit this one out. I'm talking about the rest of America. You go out there and ask people who the senators are. I mean, maybe they can name one, right? And like, I really think people need to take, so there's one thing to hear that, but like internalize it. Okay, what if I was a person that didn't know who my senators were? Like, how would I interpret political phenomena? How would I best be brought over? And the truth of the matter is, if you are in the governor's race in Virginia, it is going to be almost impossible to tell swing voters one thing. And that's if you spend a shit ton of money on it and you pound that one thing. Okay? We don't do that, right?
Oh my God, Rachel, that's so freaking smart. Like, I think of the last presidential, Trump spends a gazillion dollars on transgender, she's for they and them, and I'm for you, and
the killer line.
Pounded Kamala on the transgender issue. And for the life of me, Democrats didn't even fucking fight back on that issue.
Yeah, and guess what? 89% of voters in the swing polls knew about Kamala Harris's trans shit, but they thought Donald Trump did a good job in the first term, dude. Okay? Like, oh my God. It's malpractice. And like, it was malpractice in 2020. It was malpractice in 2022. It was malpractice in 2024. And keep in mind, I'm glad it's happening, but the DNC just this year launched a war room, okay? And I was pushing for 5 years for it, right? But like, we are not in position to meet this moment. We must get into that position. The only way to get into that position is, by retraining how we do our communications. Truth is, what they do is propaganda, right? And we're doing comms. Like, it's very different, right? Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it.
I mean, everything Democrats put out is like cringe as shit, right? There's so many like words in it. Like, I always used to teach my campaign strategy class. I'm like, look, when a direct mailer comes, it comes out of your mailbox like this, right? You look at it, oh, it's a direct mailer, boom, and then you throw it. Right?
Yeah.
That's it. Like, we're freaks, so we probably look at that shit, but nobody else does. And so that means, Joe, the message has to be right there. It has to happen in an instant. And the Republicans are so good at that. They use image, right? So no name state legislature next to AOC, the squad, and Obama looking all evil, right? And they understand that they are willing to accept that the voters are civically ignorant. Okay, that doesn't mean they're dumb. I'm not talking about IQ. And what we learned from the Knight Foundation study is that most non-voters don't vote because they think voting is pointless and icky. Okay, it's not because they literally are proud to say they don't vote. Right? Like, we have to accept the clay that we're working with, which the Republican system does. It is built on the voter. Ours is built on a idealized voter that does not exist and will never exist. And we must figure that out, especially right now where they're looking to gerrymander these 25 new seats. And I was looking at the House, and I got famous for predicting the midterm wave, but it was really so easy as a political scientist because fundamentals change and polarization impacts that as well. We are expecting, or should have, what will shape up to be, especially if they run the negative partisanship strategy like was run in that Wisconsin state Supreme Court race, very centered on the opponent, right? If we can do that, we may be able to overcome this gerrymander, but just running the shitty old strategy down in Florida, and why that happens, just in case somebody's listening to this, like, it's the assumption of, oh, well, how am I going to get Republicans to vote for me if I insult Republicans? No, you're not insulting the voters. What you're doing is telling them Trump's lying to you, right? Your member lied to you. Your member stealing your health care. Your member's fucking with you, right? You're breaking that brand loyalty and trust. And we know it will work, by the way, David, because that's how they got the white working class vote to go away from us. They just kept shitting on us and telling us, people believe this. I hear, Democratic intellectuals accept and say all the time this false premise that Democrats left the working class behind, right? And I want to go beat something up because that damn healthcare law that you fought so hard against, right? It was the crime of giving 40 million people fucking insurance for the first time, right? Like it's, you know what I mean? Like we can't accept that premise. Now, culturally, and I think this is an important conversation and what your audience, I think, will be helpful in. Culturally, the Democrats did leave, did leave the country behind. Number one, cities, culture always leaves rural folks behind. Every country, all across time. But there's two issue positions that really have isolated Dems culturally. And one of them is the inability for our candidate to say, yeah, it was a mistake to leave the border open, okay? Because when she was asked, what was the one thing that you should do different? She should have said that, okay? I mean, you can't just, until you cure poverty in the United States, you can't have migrants flooding the border because once they're here, we are bound by humanitarian laws to give them better treatment than working class people get living here, right? And that creates animosity, right? Irrational animosity amongst those working class people.
And Rachel, on that one, that is to me the biggest, most important issue where Democrats were just out of step. And yes, Trump and the right demagogued the issue and lied about the issue and scared people, right? But Democrats, and again, it goes to this elitist thing. It's an issue that regular folk care about, white, black, and brown. And Democrats kind of sat over here in their MSNBC studio and said, oh, it's not a big deal.
Yes. Oh, my God, yes. And, I was screaming from, 2022 on, close the fucking border. Close it, right? And then the other thing, Joe, that Democrats are just way the fuck out of touch on is sports bans, okay? Like, maybe it's because liberals are less into competition and athleticism. I have no idea. I'm a sports nut, okay? I live and die and bleed yellow and green for the Oregon Ducks. I'm a season ticket holder. Like, I'm leaving it on the field every Saturday. And I'm here to tell you guys, the reason that they invented Title IX in women's sports is because men are biologically designed with a bigger heart and lung capacity and biological advantages that even the most comprehensive gender reassignment work can offset. Okay. And America gets this. It's like 85% of America's like, yeah, it'd be, dumb, right? I'm sorry that for this one person who's conflicted between competing in sports and trans identity, okay? But like at the end of the day, biological men have an advantage over biological women, right? And it's sports, right? So it's really fucking kind of important. We're talking about swim records and shit that's going to get broken by biological men, and that women have a right to feel like that's not fair. And Democrats, I shit you not, all of them in the House had to vote against the sportsman. And I'm just like, God, dude. Like, honestly, like women, even Democratic women are like, hey, hello.
And again, everybody listening to Rachel and I, by the way, Rachel Bittkoffer, I want you all subscribing to her on Substack at The Cycle. Follow and subscribe her. You're going to get hard-hitting, interesting stuff like this every week. Rachel, that's the other issue, though. Like, it just gives people the impression that Democrats are out of touch. Yes. And the damnedest thing is, on the whole transgender issue, most Americans are where Democrats are. We love and embrace our transgender American brothers and sisters. Let them live their truth, identify how they want to identify. They should be able to serve in the military, same rights as everybody else. When it comes to athletic competition, man, the competition's got to be fair.
Pretty much, Joe. It ain't fucking complicated, right?
No.
Dude,
That's where most Americans are.
I
Most
know.
Americans are not
No.
where MAGA is, that
Yeah.
that transgenderism's like evil or a mental sickness. Most Americans don't
Yeah.
believe that.
No. Yeah. And
But
neither
they
do
won the
I,
issue.
right? I
They
mean, I
won the
support
issue.
everything you said, except for
Yeah.
this one thing, and that's because biological men have, I mean, and
Yeah.
like somewhere, by the way, I just want to point this out. Somewhere, sometime, somehow, somebody published an op-ed where they made the claim that there's no biological advantage between men and women. I keep seeing liberals regurgitate this. So I followed it back because I wanted to see if it was based on any scientific data. And I have a PhD. And it's not. It's just some woman who said that. You know, it's the most stupidest claim, right? Like run it past Chat GPT. Like it's gonna tell you. Like you can't change that heart and lung capacity. It's actually one of the most important predictors for academic or athletic, like, you know, strong performance. Yeah.
Rachel, somebody just commented. Marnie just commented. You and Rachel need to fucking take this on the road. We should, and because we need Democrats to fucking, pardon my language,
Yeah.
everybody, get some balls. And because Melissa, Rachel, you say this a lot. Democrats always find themselves on the defensive. They should be on the offensive all the time.
Yes. Dude, we should be fucking ripping these motherfuckers up, Joe. Oh my God. It's so painful, dude. Like, I sit
There's
here
a fear.
every day.
There's a fear.
Yeah. I mean,
Like they have a fear. Like, I don't want to talk about the transgender issue.
I know.
I
And
don't
here's the
want to
other thing.
talk
I'm like,
about prayer. Yeah.
motherfuckers, they fucking Tulsi Gabbard is the DNI, dude. There isn't a mistake we can make that will compare. And you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
let's just go with it. And we wasted something like $100 million on research. And Joe, one
Yeah.
of the reasons I've had a hard time getting Democrats to reform is that there is a very strong consultant class that is very keen to keep me away from their donors and their candidates, because I'm going to be like, we'll field test everything. Everything's going to AB out in social media. Okay. There's absolutely no reason to be spending $100,000 to test ads. Also, here's the other thing that you need to know. David Shore is one of these consultants, and he came and did a data tour, right? And like, at the end of the day, we all know how the election came out. We lost, right? But he was so like, he keeps coming back to the fact that the testing was so good. The testing was so good. I'm like, motherfucker, the test is, do you win or not? And so like we have no distribution budget because we're spending all of it on consultants, on research, on the front end. And like, if I'm running a campaign, honest to God, we're going 80-20, 80% napalming your opponent and their brand, 20% on some, contrast ads that also mention you're great. Nothing that goes out without a negative. I do zero pure positive ads. Like zero. And every fucking dollar goes to distribution, right? Because we are so undersaturated in terms of distribution. I don't know where you live. I mean, I live in a somewhat competitive congressional district. I see nothing. Like, we mostly see no communication at all from the Democratic Party. And it's ridiculous. Why? Because now we have this cheap medium to do it with. It's very cheap to buy digital advertising. And, I got poo-pooed about 4 years ago because I was like, look, the numbers of what we're spending digital hide the truth, okay? Because it was fairly equal. They're spending all their money on voter manipulation, mental manipulation, propaganda, right? We're spending all of ours on campaign finance crap, okay? So we've got a lot of work to do, and that's why I was so excited that you joined the party, because I need help. I need help getting people to be mean.
You've been a lone voice for a while, preaching to Democrats that they got to fight, they got to go on the offense, and they got to go after the opponents instead of trying to just sell themselves.
That's right.
And you've been a lone voice in doing that. Rachel, the notion of the big tent, though, because you talk about herding cats, and my former party is really easy. They're all robots lined up. But how do you do what you want the party to do when it is a big old diverse herd of cats?
convince the swing race candidates that the way to maximize the probability of winning is to go negative and run NPS, just like she did. Like Ben Wickler and Wisconsin Democrats have been doing in Wisconsin. And if you want an example of what negative partisanship strategy looks like, just Google on YouTube those Wisconsin state Supreme Court races, and that's it. Okay, like it's not.
By the way, Rachel.
Difficult. Yeah.
That is from the Wisconsin Supreme Court race from a few months ago. Huge Democratic victory.
Yes.
Your takeaway from that victory is what?
Run against your opponents and brand him as an extremist. Yes, because voters have no idea that they're voting for people who banned IVF. And they're never going to fucking know if you don't pay to tell them, because they're not going to come into that information on their own. This media environment that we're in, I think, in another 30 years, we're going to start hearing people talk about how the digital revolution was as profound as the industrial revolution. Okay. Because you and I are of a certain age. So we've lived two lives. I'm older than I look. Okay. And I had a pre-digital life and a post-digital life. And, the communication has changed so drastically because of the internet, right? So we can't just hope that people are going to see a newspaper. They're not. There's no more newspaper vending machines. They're all gone, right? People aren't watching TV anymore. You and I'm guessing here, you watched The Day After in the 1980s when The Day After was on TV. Did you watch that movie? Hell yeah, we all did. And we all watched it on the same night. And we all got to work the next day and talked about it, right? That kind of kumbaya consumption does not occur in today's fragmentation. So I quite mean it when I say the only way to do this is to keep pushing hard enough that we can convince our top tier candidates to adopt this strategy to win in 2026.
Is it, Rach, is it too simplistic? A listener just said this. What Rachel is describing is Democrats got to learn these are fucking boxing fights, not debates. Is that too simplistic? Yeah.
No, okay. I mean, it's definitely correct, right? And we started off in 2010 with an asymmetry, okay? You guys were bringing a gun and we were showing up with a pencil, right? Well, now we still have a pencil and you guys are up to a tank, right? So, it's time to do this. And, here's the thing. People will give me shit. Like, I just went on a different show and the host, to be fair, I didn't mind it, right? But he was uncomfortable about the fact that, okay, well, if both parties do this, polarization propaganda shit, isn't that going to be bad for democracy? And I'm like, look, motherfucker, that's like worrying about what should I paint the walls when your house is on fire?
Yes,
We are in a 5-alarm fire. When I say Gavin Newsom is the man for the moment, I'm not talking about 2028. I'm talking about right fucking now. Okay? This is we're in war. And if you don't want to be in the war, that's too goddamn bad because you're in it. Okay. They have declared war against us. They are behaving on a war posture. And we damn well better do the same thing if we want to save the marginalized groups that we claim to care about. Okay. Because at the end of the day, you and me maybe one day will have to flee, but we're not on the front lines of this.
Right.
Who's on the front lines of it? Trans people, gay people, Latino people, Black people, right? We're supposed to care about these people. And the way to care about them right now is to be a mean, tough son of a bitch.
Oh, Rachel, preach. I fucking love that. Did you hear what she said? And Rachel, what they're doing down in Texas with this mid-decade redistricting, well, then Democrats got to do the same fucking thing. And I know people don't like to hear that.
Right. They don't. And here's the thing. Us do-gooders, when in 2010, fullback, okay? Joe Walsh emerges in 2010. Right before that, the Republican Party was working on strategy. They're always building shit. You should read the book. But in this case, it was something called the Red Map Project. And what they noticed was, okay, this new technology has emerged called micro-targeting. We now can go down into precinct by precinct analysis and figure out how to shape congressional districts to max our seat share. And so they started doing that shit aggressively, right? In fact, this 4-seat House majority that they have right now would not exist without Red Map and that aggressive gerrymandering. So when we talk about Texas is doing now, it's important for people to understand Texas is already partisan gerrymandering. And what they're trying to do is like the Spaceballs equivalent of ludicrous speed, right? It's going to be ludicrous gerrymandered. And our only hope is to gerrymander the states that we can. And I say that what we can is because we're such fucking do-gooders. At the same time you guys were inventing this gerrymander system, what did we do? We're like, gerrymandering's bad. Let's ban it. And we banned it in a lot of the blue states because we're fucking...
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I remember in Virginia when they wanted to do this, and I was like, don't do this. Please don't do this. Like, it should be opposite, man. You guys should be gerrymandering, and they passed the initiative, and now their hands are tied. So, like, we are in an asymmetric war against people who know how to fight and have a general. We have no general. We have no war council. Okay? That is our biggest problem right now.
When, Rachel, when does that come? When do the generals in the war council come? Where do they come from?
I'm convinced it will come if we make it. We have to make it if we want it to come. It's not going to come. Yeah.
Okay.
And here's why. Because people look at the DNC, right? Ken Martin is leading a strategic revolution of the DNC. He is doing all the things that you guys want, and he could be doing more if people would reopen their pockets to the DNC instead of giving all these super PACs, okay?
Yeah.
But so he gets it, but here's the thing, the DNC doesn't run campaigns, okay? They do some help and they run some stuff, but ultimately the campaigns are run by the candidates, and we have a candidate-centric system. And so, like, when I keep coming back to the swing race electeds, right, those who are in seats and those who are competing for them, they have to be the generals. Like, if they are the generals, then we're in a vacuum, and that is bad, right? But Democrats have done a lot of work in the last 20 years, really screwing ourselves in a lot of ways, not only with the partisan redistricting stuff, but a lot of the changes that they made at the DNC have made centralized decision-making impossible, is my point.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when I say we need a general, I mean we need a general, but I also mean we need a hierarchy. We need somebody who's in charge who can give marching orders to those down below, especially because in this space, everyone thinks they have the right idea, right?
Yeah.
So, you really need to be in a situation where General Bitterkoffer says, we're going to do this and we're going to do it like this. And then it just gets done, right? Instead of having a committee to decide and sending it through legal and blah, blah, blah. They don't do any of that shit, okay?
Yeah.
We have to stop doing that. And we got to accept the fact that we cannot will these people back into sanity. 10 years we've tried doing that, Joe. I mean, 15, really, right? And it didn't. And now we're on the brink of fascism because we failed to change. And so we're out of time. We're out of time.
Yeah, we're out of time.
Yeah.
So, Rachel, close with me with this. And you and I, for the past 40 minutes, have been two committed, concerned Democrats who are trying to shake this party up so that they can win. And we've been beating them up for 30 to 40 minutes, lovingly.
Yes, it's all out of love.
Compliment the Democratic Party. End this with some praise for where they're at right now or who they are.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see hope out of the DNC. Ken Martin is the new chair. He's a big fan of the book. Okay. He sent me out to the Democratic Convention planning meeting and bought every state party in the Democratic Party has received 2 copies paid for by the DNC. So, like, I can't say enough about what's happening there. But at the same time, there has to be a lot more, and it has to come from our political leadership. The governors who have big megaphones, the candidates. We're going to start to get into 2028, but it's going to be after the midterms. We can't wait till after the midterms to have a general. We need a general now. And, this redistricting for me, if I want to see some hard balling. And I've got to give shout out to Ken Martin, who I quoted on my show. He said, look, if they do this shit in Texas, we're coming back at them. Right. Yeah. And so here's the thing though. there are still, and this blows my mind, but there are people up in that establishment of the DC establishment of the party who I've never met, right? That still don't want to do this. They still think like, oh, well, if I don't want to insult Republicans because I have to work with them in the Senate. And it seems just extraordinary to our audience, I'm sure, to you, but it's still a problem. And so Ken needs support. He needs support for the reform. The DNC launched a word room. You could Google that. It was covered in the Hill and the Washington Post. We need to make sure that we award the people who are doing shit right. And Gavin Newsom is a motherfucker that's doing shit right now. And his Twitter is just rolling, right? I mean, just, it's not debate and fact checking. It's trolling and strategic mockery, which I talk quite a bit about, how you have to, these people are crazy and stupid, and we should be mocking them strategically.
Amen.
And look stupid and dumb, right?
Amen. Amen. And you said it beautifully. This is war. We don't have time. Fascism is here.
It's here.
So it's here. It needs to be defeated. She is Rachel Bittkoffer. By the way, her book out last year, great read, Hit 'em Where It Hurts, How to Save Democracy by Beating Republicans at Their Own Game. Subscribe, follow, and subscribe to Rachel right here on Substack. Rachel Bittkoffer at The Cycle. My lady, you're the best. Thank
Dude,
you.
you are, man. No, you are. No, you.
No, you. Thanks, Rachel.
Thanks
Talk
for having
soon.
me.
Thanks, everybody. Be brave.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, share, and follow The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been The Social Contract with Joe Walsh.